So hi, on the Guys Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
Throwback Thursday, recorded on a Thursday, posted several Mondays from now.
Like 4 Mondays from now.
Something like that. Something like that. But we're back to the Throwback Thursday, recorded on a Thursday, and it's been a hot minute.
It feels good to be back. I mean, all I could say is Viva lost Throwback Thursday. I jumped the gun.
Local guy.
I fucking hate this. I hate this so much.
Don't let the light go out
Mm-hmm.
on the podcast just yet.
And don't be a sad clown all by yourself. Say it louder.
But God killed rock and roll.
And God, fuck, you fucked up my flow. You know what? I'm done.
Today we're talking.
Tired. I'm so fucking tired. I'm sorry. I'm like, this album is so good. I love this album so much.
Today we're talking about Panic! At the Disco's 2022 album, Viva Las Vengeance. This wraps up the Panic! At the Disco discography dive series.
No. We have to review the House of Memories EP.
Hell no. So this wraps it up. This is the last. Been a lot of foreshadowing for Pray for the Wicked and this one throughout the entire series. And yeah, man, we're just gonna dive into it because this album really needs no introduction. But I am gonna introduce it with this. So okay. I was telling a friend of mine what we were doing. Mm-hmm. We were talking about when we were young, and Panic! At the Disco playing A Fever, You Can't Sweat Out in full, and this just came up in that conversation that we were doing this because we were dead in the middle of it while I was talking to him about this, and he was like, "Since you're a Panic! At the Disco fan, I got to know your thoughts on Viva Las Vengeance," and I was like. I think the fucking record sucks. And he was like, I'm a massive Panic! At the Disco fan. I have enjoyed all of their records, including Pray for the Wicked. And he's like, it physically pains me that there was a Panic! At the Disco record that I didn't like. So I had to reward myself to get into this record by eating a piece of chocolate after every song as I listened to the record until I trained my brain to feel happy things while listening to this record. And he told me I could share this story, which I think is so awesome.
That's incredible.
I think it's the perfect tone setter for this, that there's someone out there that in order to enjoy this record, they had to train their brain by eating a piece of chocolate every time they listened to this record. And they said it only kind of worked because now when they listen to this record, they really only think about chocolate and not much else.
Oh, that's good. That did work fully, completely.
Yeah, which is... I feel the vibe for this record because, as I already said while I was giving that little opening, I don't like this album. I don't have the same visceral hatred for it that I have for Pray for the Wicked, because I think there was potential with Pray for the Wicked that was ultimately botched once we get past the 4 good songs, in my opinion, the only good 4 songs on the record. This album didn't have much potential to begin with. I am going to go out on a limb and say that Viva Las Vengeance is a solid track. I think that you thought at the time when it came out and I looped it that I was kidding, and I might have been joking a little bit to begin with, but I might have convinced myself that it was a good song. I do think that it is a solid opener, a solid lead single, especially when we're looking at this record as a whole. When you look at it in Panic! At the Disco's entire discography, hell no. When you look at it, this record, it is definitely one of the strong points on this album.
Yeah.
And then it just goes to shit after that. I say that, and then I look at the track list. Don't Let the Light Go Out, for me, is potentially the only other standout on the record. Yeah, and that's saying something. I think that the vibe of that song is done very well, and the vocal performance on the track, albeit not the best, is one of the better on the album. Even if throughout the entire record you can hear the vocal straining, I still think that the vocal delivery on this track comes through, and I did enjoy. They did it live at the VMAs. I saw this record played in full because that's what they did for the tour. Thank God. I'm so glad I got to hear this album in full. And this was a standout for me then as well. I've always had kind of a softer spot for that song. I just think that while looking at this record, it was one of the songs that was actually executed somewhat well. That and Viva Lost Vengeance. But the rest of the album suffers from the same thing that Pray for the Wicked suffers from, which is just terrible lyricism throughout the entire album. And now we're really looking at vocal delivery that's just not there, and vocal performances that are suffering throughout the entire album. But it really is like the lyricism. It's like Pray for the Wicked was bad, and then this got worse.
It's like they doubled down.
Yeah, and I don't know how.
Sorry, it's like he doubled down.
Yeah.
Panic at the Disco is Brendan Urie, by the way.
Yeah, by this point in the chapter, it is just him.
In the linear notes.
Yeah.
It's in the fucking booklets.
Yeah. There are just some god awful songs on here.
Yeah.
Like Star Spangled Banger, which when I saw the track list, I knew that song was gonna suck, but it's probably my least favorite on the album. It is the most disjointed track across the board. God Killed Rock and Roll is also abysmal. Something About Maggie is the definition of what the fuck lyricism, with the line about slitting your wrist gives me the same vibes as Roll Me Like a Blunt because I want to go home. I don't understand where either of those came from, because the line in Something About Maggie is just blurted out like in the middle of the fucking song, and it doesn't line up with anything else. It doesn't add to the rhyme scheme, nothing. It's just there and just exists in the song. Sad Clown, Sugar Soaker, I could sit here. Say It Louder feels like a sad attempt at High Hopes and trying to do that again. It's just an abysmal album that was poorly executed, has a couple of standout moments, but that's only because we're looking at this record as a whole and trying to pick something out of it.
I think I'm starting to feel that rage that you felt for Pray for the Wicked, and it's just like, it's genuinely like, I'm looking at the album and I'm thinking back on the time I listened to it through all the way like once, I think, after like in preparation, and I said I can't. I was
sitting with Glory
anymore.
while she was listening to some of it.
It just makes me upset. Genuinely, this just makes me like sad, mad. I don't have words for it. I'm gonna be so real, but I'm gonna try to fucking find some. I'm gonna go track by track because that's the only way I could do this shit. Viva Las Vengeance. He gets pitchy as fuck. Okay, let me start off in positives before I dig into this shit, because then it's gonna sound like I'm putting fucking a cherry on top of fucking shit salad and it's not gonna work. Things I like about this record. I like the approach to it. I like that they wanted to track it on tape. I think that's really fucking cool. I think more artists should be discovering that and testing it out and kind of seeing if they want to try that too. I think having most of the tracks being one take as well is really cool. I like some of the ideas of the songs where it's kind of big, theatrical, still, again, they've left the rock elements like fully. Pray for the Wicked there were like droplets of it, but it was a pop record, and then this one they just fully doubled down and they said, okay, we're a pop band now because that's what we're technically mainstream now, so let's lean into it. People did not like that for a reason.
At least they lost the horns.
I liked the tracking style. That's all I got. Viva Las Vengeance, I think I agree. Putting it up to everything else on this album, it is the best track off the record. God, I don't even think I could do a top 3. I'm gonna be so real. I'm looking at it now. I don't know how I'm gonna rank this. It's an okay song. I think it's catchy. I think again he sounds pitchy. But what can you do? That's the whole record.
Yeah.
Middle of a breakup, I think it's awful. What are you talking about? What? Why? Don't Let the Light Go Out. I hate that song. It just sounds like he's trying way too hard to be like sentimental and like, guys, this. It's okay. We're in this together. He's trying to have one of those fucking that Logic moment with the I don't want to be alive. Like he's trying that shit. And it's like that's not gonna fucking work. Shut the fuck up. Local God, fuck you. Ryan Ross on top. That's all I gotta say. Star Spangled Banger. God killed rock and roll. Fuck, I don't even have words for like half of these. I'm just gonna skip to Sugar Soaker. I always call it Super Soaker because that's I said it once as a joke and now in my head it's just Super Soaker. Um, it is what you think it's about. So again, just surface level shit. They've completely lost the art of writing and not just saying what they mean. They aren't writing anything hidden. There isn't anything to kind of let me deep dive these lyrics and see what he could really mean. There's nothing to interpret. It's already written. It's just handed to you.
Mhm.
It's just fucking spoon fed to you. And it's kind of fucking disrespectful. Like, do you think that the general public can't digest music? That's just crazy. I don't know. Like, you have to fucking break it down that much. You have to spoon feed everyone. That's fucking dumb as shit. Something about Maggie. I mean, I guess slitting wrists is something cool now. I don't fucking know. That's something about Maggie, right? That's that
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Hated that one. Sad Clown, that was a single. Saw like 5 seconds of the music video when it was released, and I said, wow, Panic at the Disco is really gone. All by Yourself, I think is half okay. So what is that? It's a meh. Um, it's definitely one of the higher moments. I mean, it's not. It's a slower track, but it's definitely one of the better moments on the album, in my opinion. Do It to Death. Again, it just feels like it was trying too hard. I 1000% prefer Dying in LA over Do It to Death. I think it just feels like this album has no soul.
Mhm.
It just feels like it was just shat out just to say that they put an album out and it's a pop record, so maybe someone will latch onto something, but there's like no love for music in this record at all. It's all just it feels so fucking commercial, but at the same time so unattractive.
Yeah.
Because usually commercial equals okay, this is everyone's gonna enjoy this. There's gonna be, it's like they couldn't figure out if they wanted to do like something for the fans or something for mainstream. So they just made something for no one. And that's why it fucking flopped. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, why the fuck does a Panic at the Disco song have 2 million? I mean, granted, 2 million is nothing to fucking sneeze at, right? But 2 million streams when their last record, which we both think is one of their worst records, has I think the smallest, the fucking least streamed one had like 38 million.
Yeah.
So it was a considerable, massive loss on streams and playback. And the band fucking broke up after this. So it's well, Brendan Urie broke up with himself after this.
And the
So it's
tour
just
did
like
not sell well at all.
the tour didn't sell well. The resale tickets for like $5. I almost went because I was like, I mean, what the fuck not? It's
I went because
$5.
my nosebleed ticket was like $30.
Exactly. So it's just like it sucks because, and I was telling you about this before we went into the interview that we were doing before the review, but it's just as a fan, as a person who's been a fan of Panic! The Disco for 8 years, it is so sad to work through. I mean, it's bittersweet because we got to reflect on like, oh, I remember this and I remember listening to this for the first time, but now getting to the tail end of the fucking life of this band, it's so sad going from this is incredible, this meant a lot to me, to wow, they've completely lost their touch. They are completely out of touch. They don't know what their fans like, or they know what they like, and they just don't want to do that because they're fucking stubborn. Um, and it's just sad seeing a band that I personally love and care about so much just completely fall off. Like there to me there's nothing salvageable on this album. As I said, Viva Las Vengeance, again, I would not go to listen to that again. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, I mean it's the opener, it's catchy, sure, but I'm not fucking coming back to that. I went back to the Overpass after the review because I was like, that song kind of fucking slaps. I love how fucking fast it goes. But this one, there's nothing on here that makes me go, let me run it back to fucking Sad Clown. Let me see what Local God sounds like. I remember. I don't need a refresher.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's just sad.
and one thing that I've picked up on for myself while listening through is like, as much as if you watched the Pray for the Wicked review, you'll see my literal visceral hatred for that record come out. One thing I will give it is, whether or not I think the songs are any good, the choruses are built to be catchy across the entire record. Obviously, I enjoy the top 4 songs on that record, the first 4, but even throughout the rest of the album, there are songs that I said I didn't like, that the chorus then was stuck in my head while Glory was saying her piece about the album. You know, as much as I think "Roll Me Like a Blunt because I want to go home" is a terrible fucking lyric, I have been referring to it and it's been stuck in my goddamn head. "King of the Clouds," that chorus has been stuck in my head. You know, there's something about that in the way that record was designed, whereas this album feels like it was another attempt at that same success, which, granted, following up the success of High Hopes is a massive task to begin with. It's hard to do that. It's hard to do that one time, let alone do that again. And just following that up with that kind of pressure is a lot. Now, what came out of it is terrible and god awful. I can't believe it was greenlit to begin with. But, you know, following that up is a feat in and of itself, and I think that should be addressed in some capacity, because as I mentioned in that review, not many bands get to have that kind of success in their career at all. So to follow that up is definitely a daunting task. But Pray for the Wicked across the board had catchy choruses, you know, even if I just thought that some of the songs just completely fell flat, were too much like a cacophony of sounds around the vocals. This album lacks even a good chorus on most of the songs. That is kind of why I gravitate towards Viva Las Vengeance, because I feel like that is quite literally the only song on this album that has a somewhat redeemable chorus on it. But the rest of this record just kind of lacks in lyricism, instrumentals, and then also the catchiness of the song, which when you're going to write a pop record, that is like, you know, if there's an ingredients list, that's got a lot that you got to put in the cake to make the cake fucking you know, poof up in the oven.
The leavening agent.
Yeah. You know, it's a main ingredient in the puzzle.
At the top of the ingredients list.
Yeah, it's at the top of the ingredients list. It's a main ingredient in the puzzle of making a pop record, and it was almost like it was forgotten about on this album. Like they wrote one song that was like, this is going to be the lead single. This one could grab people's attention, and you know, it obviously split the fan base. But I do think there were some people, myself included, that was like, okay, maybe this won't be as bad as everybody thinks it's going to be. And then all it took was literally the next single for at least me. I stopped paying attention to what other people were giving a shit about, because they pretty much just bombarded everybody with all the news at the same time. New single, new album, new tour, all at 10 o'clock in the morning on a random Tuesday or whatever fucking day it was.
Like they got scared and they just take everything.
Yeah, and they just dropped everything at the same time, which is fine. But it made me tune out to what other people gave a shit about the album for basically until the record was out, and everyone just universally didn't like it. But I know for at least me, the next single, all it took was that for me to just tap out and be like, nah, this is gonna suck. I read the track list and I heard the second song off the record, and this is gonna be terrible. So yeah, it is disappointing to see. You know, there's a part of me that hopes that, you know, this breakup, hiatus, whatever it may be, because the band is already back in some capacity at the next year.
Which it's like, I mean, you gave it like a year.
Yeah, I hope that this was just a break to kind of get personal life things in order. You know, he had a kid, and whatnot. So I'm hoping that it was time to just get things in order, take some time away, and actually say that the project isn't active at all, so that he can do his personal life things, as well as not really have the pressure of doing a record in a timeline, but that something, you know, that something great eventually comes out of this time off, because it is weird how soon the band is coming back. And I'm inclined to believe that this isn't the end. There's a small part of me that wants this to not be the end of the discography. I would love one more record, at least one more, that is a return to form, whatever that may be for Modern Panic. But
Dude,
isn't,
I don't even know what the fuck that would be.
but
I genuinely.
but isn't this? Because I just think that this as the send off and the discography is the last thing, and potentially the first thing someone could stumble across on the band's discography is just rough. As Glory said, the streams speak for themselves. A band of this caliber having 2 million streams on the back half, on songs on the back half of the record is just unheard of, and the lead single having 38 million streams and being out almost 2 going on 3 years now is just the fan reception of this speaks volumes of what the general census on this record was. And I hope that this isn't the end, and that if it's not the end, that they just fuck it, we'll try this again.
Let's take it from the top.
Let's take this one more time. Viva Las Vengeance 2.
Oh wow! Because I feel like a re-release. Because I feel like you guys didn't really listen to the album, right?
Give it a shot.
Jesus Christ, we're ranking them now, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna start. My number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My number 7 is Viva Las Vengeance.
Yeah.
Fucking hate that record. We just spent God knows how long talking about it. 20 minutes talking about it. I think there's no substance to it. I think it's half-assed. I think that they use the excuse of it was all recorded in one go as, again, just lazy, because then you're able to get away with fucking anything. You're able to get away with god-awful vocal performances. He sounds like he's straining. He sounds like he's genuinely like hurting his vocals doing this shit, stretching himself too thin. Awful record. Sounds bad. Not good.
Yeah, my number 7, to no surprise to anyone, is also Viva Las Vengeance for all of the reasons that were just stated. There's really not much of any redeeming qualities on this record. As I said, I do like the opener. I don't mind Don't Let the Light Go Out, but besides that, and those 2 songs aren't songs that I would necessarily want to come back to. It's just talking about this record and trying to find something. But yeah, those songs aren't going to make me be like, I give this record a spin today. They're just fine, to put it bluntly.
Even fine.
Not a great record.
No. My number 6 is Pray for the Wicked.
Wow, never would have guessed.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So I do think the record has a lot of good moments, as we spoke about in the review. But again, it's kind of that thing where they kind of strayed a little too far from the path. Their whole thing before was Death of a Bachelor, which again still had a lot of rock, jazzy elements, but then they just went straight to pop with a lot of different sounds. It just felt like noise at some points, as you mentioned in, even fucking Old Fashioned, in Roaring Twenties, One of the Drunks. Again, it just gets overwhelming sometimes with the mixing, where it's like there's just so much happening, but at the same time nothing at all, because there's nothing for you to actually digest and take away from the song that isn't already spelled out for you. So lyrically, sound-wise, both underwhelming and overwhelming. Awful record. That has some moments. Shout out to Overpass. Heavy. I love that song so much. Yeah.
Yeah, my number 6 is Pray for the Wicked. I honestly tossed back and forth. Yeah, I'm sorry. I honestly tossed back and forth this morning while listening through this record that we're talking about, Viva Las Vengeance, putting Pray for the Wicked last, but just because of the sheer visceral hatred that I have for that record. But there are 1 or 2 more redeeming qualities on that album for me than with this one, hence the number 6 placement. But if I could put them both at number 7, I would. I'm not a fan of the record. I do think that the first 4 songs are solid. The what they set out to was absolutely to do with those songs was absolutely achieved. I'm not going to discredit that at all, but I do think that there is a vast and quick quality drop off from that point forward. just a large cacophony of sounds, where and the lyricism's terrible, and the choruses are just the same word over and over again, and just not a fan of it at all. It also gave me a headache and sparked me saying some really mean things about the album to Glory, and she was like, dude, are you like, what did this album do to you?
He sent like a paragraph just in our chat of just fucking hate this album. This album gave me a fucking, it ruined my day. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's fair, honestly.
It pissed me the hell off. It ruined my fucking day. I came home, the album wasn't done yet. I was finishing it. I couldn't finish it in the car. And I was like, God damn, this fucking record sucks.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
It's fine. Let's chill. My number 5 is pretty odd. I have nothing against this record, honestly. After revisiting it, I used to just hate it blindly. But I did still have a moment with it when I first found Panic at the Disco. I think there are a lot of good, well, firstly, fucking lyrically, I think it's incredible. I think the record is a lot of fun sound-wise, even if it's not the genre that I typically am drawn to. There are a lot of folk elements, there's a lot of just country elements. Not for me, personally. The first half, though, is kind of like that alternative folk, which I'm able to grab onto. We're So Starving, 9 in the Afternoon. Do You Know What I'm Seeing? The Green Gentleman. Fucking When the Day Met the Night. I think that there are a ton of good songs off of here
heaviest
that I
song
do
on the
still
record,
go
too.
back to. Heavy as shit. That fucking breakdown's crazy. And Mad as Rabbits I think is an incredible closer. I think the record has a lot of strong points, but just because it is not the genre that I typically go for ever, it's placed down here. Now, if I fucked with folk at that level, it would probably be in my top 3. But I don't, so it isn't.
I'm starting to think you hacked into my phone and found my top 7, and you're just reading mine, because my number 5...
No, we're about to go off. We're about to go off the rails.
Let me have this, please. My number 5 is also pretty odd. As I said in the review, it was the record that I basically never checked out in its entirety across all the years that I've enjoyed the band, solely because I got this vibe from the album. I knew some of the singles. I had spent a lot of time with When the Day Met the Night and a couple of songs around that.
Yeah.
I don't even know how the hell that happened, because I didn't listen to the fucking album. But yeah, there was this vibe that I had for this record that I ultimately found out was right in some capacity, but it's all kind of kept contained to the back half of the record. There's 66% of the album that is this other thing that is loosely influenced by the folk and the like. I just see like green when I listen to this record, like green, and there's shrubbery everywhere, and I mean it even comes in the music videos for the album. Like what they're portraying visually is just what I see listening to this record. And the folk elements definitely come through in the first or the first 2/3 of the album, but that last third is exactly what I thought the record was. Ryan Ross really got the reins and just went crazy, and I thought that's what the entire record was, and I was wrong. But yeah, for me, it's just not normally what I would listen to, but I'm glad I finally did check it out. That I was kind of right, but also kind of wrong about what the general album experience was, and yeah, I thought it was solid, but it's got to be placed lower because the rest of the albums, like the top 4 for me, are all records that I would go out of my way to listen to. Pretty Odd is still not. Yeah, Pretty Odd is not something that I would necessarily go out of my way to listen to. It's just not something I'm normally looking to listen to. That kind of vibe.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this might be where I lose you. I'm not sure though. If it isn't, then you are copying me. So my number 4 is Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. I love this record a lot. But again, see now nostalgia and my own personal memories and thoughts and feelings kind of come into play with this ranking. Kind of era of my life where I found these things, what they meant to me in the time, all that shit. Not going off of which one is, like I could say is their best record, which honestly I can say that A Fever You Can't Sweat Out is their best record, but is it my favorite? Fuck no. Too Rare to Live, Too Rare to Die is an incredible record. I love as I've kind of said it, we both said it before in past reviews, where it has kind of the hazy pop rock. It has a lot of synths. It has that kind of just like woozy vibe just over the entire record, and I think it's incredible. Vegas Lights, Casual Fare, Colorful, Far Too Young to Die, I think are all incredible songs. Well, Far Too Young to Die, I think it's just okay. I'll swap that out for fucking like Girl That You Love. I love this album a lot. I love the vibe off of it. It kind of gives like a little scummy vibe. Fucking dig it. And yeah, honestly, like music video wise, just kind of package wise, album rollout, great album, incredible. Um, I think the bass is incredible too. Shout out to Alan Weeks. But yeah, great record. Love it a lot.
Oh yeah, my number 4 is Vices and Virtues.
Fucking bastard! Ah, oh my god.
There are so many great elements on this record and so many fantastic songs. But it's got to be placed somewhere because the three albums that are left are the three that when I go to listen to Panic at the Disco are the ones that I will go out of my way to listen to. So it's literally no offense to this record. Like if I could just split my list and put the first 3 all together in the last spot, and then maybe this one kind of like do a top 3, put this one at 2, put the bottom 3 at number 3, and then put the top 3 at the number 1 slot. I would just do that for this list, because this is the record that like if I'm in the right mood, I'll come to it. There's absolutely certain songs on here that are some of my favorites in their discography, like the ballad Mona Lisa and Let's Kill Tonight. But it's also one of the shorter records in their discography, and there is like a middle chunk in the record that I had a tendency to skip over when I was a youngin listening to this band a ton. So all that kind of factors into this as well. But yeah, solid album. Had to put it somewhere. I really have no justification for number 4 other than it's got to go somewhere. There's 7 albums in the discography.
It's gotta go somewhere. My number 3 is Death of a Bachelor. Now, I love this record a lot. It is the record that got me into Panic at the Disco. If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be here now. But I think, fuck, I don't even have anything bad to say about it. I think it's a great record. I think all of the songs are catchy as shit, except House of Memories, which still has, catchy bits. Again, it's just not the track that speaks to me. I think it opens incredibly with Victorious. I think Impossible Year is a great closer. Death of a Bachelor title track is great. Crazy Equals Genius. Golden Days is one of their best songs ever. Hallelujah is incredible. Fuck, I love this record a lot. It to me is the Panic at the Disco record because it balances that pop rock that you start to lose, on the tail end of their career, but it is their last best record. And I think they did it. Perfection. It's beautiful. I love it. Death of a Bachelor, number 3.
Oh yeah, my number 3 is Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. This is a sound that I have always gravitated towards, and I think that this record might have been the unlocking in my brain for this sound. It's not something I actively seek out, this more synth-driven pop, but when I stumble across it, it is always something I gravitate towards, and this record is no exception. Absolutely love so many cuts off this album. Miss Jackson, Casual Affair, Vegas Lights, Girl That You Love, Far Too Young to Die. All of those songs are such fantastic tracks off of this album that I very much adore. But again, it's got to be put somewhere. I almost feel like, this record is interchangeable with Vices and Virtues depending on the day. But I always lean more towards this album for me because it was like the smallest gap of time between records. They typically ran on a three year album cycle. This one was only 2. They're closer album wise, so that's why like in my head I'm able to say they're like interchangeable, even though they're 2 sonically different records and the band further broke up in between those 2 albums. But yeah, this one has got to be put at number 3 for me.
That makes sense. That's fair. My number 2 is A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. I love the record a lot, and I think it, as I said, it is their best record. I do believe that.
Mhm.
I think it is at the peak of, I mean, it's at the beginning, but it's crazy. Their first album, they peaked with their first album. Um, I think Ryan Ross's lyrics were incredible. I think they were having fun. There were no expectations because it was their debut. So they were just doing a bunch of shit. There were a lot of techno elements. There was just literally just a bunch of shit just chucked onto 40 minutes. And they call it a day. They have a lot of those older elements of just kind of like fuck, like what is that, 60s, 50s or 60s like pop. I think it's great. I think it sounds incredible. I Write Sins Not Tragedies is their big one, their biggest song. Oh shit. High Hopes is their biggest song. Their second biggest song. Um Fucking Tables is my personal favorite Panic song. But It's Better If You Do. Build God, Then We'll Talk. Kamisato is my second favorite off of the album. Incredible track. They have a lot of fun with it. They're young. They have no expectations at all. And I think that is where they kind of thrived. Where, as you can see, Viva Las Vengeance, a lot of expectations crumbled under the pressure.
Yeah.
Ryan Ross also was not there to help support that. So who knows? Great record though. I love it a lot. And yeah.
Hell yeah. My number two is Death of a Bachelor. As I said during the review, I feel that this is a near perfect Panic record. Not a huge fan of the closer, but besides that, every single song on this album is a fucking ripper. The way it opens with Victorious, the way for me it closes with House of Memories, because I just skip the last song, go into the Spotify radio, the vibes. But yes, it's just such a strong album, as you stated. The last good and truly, honestly, great Panic album. Trying to study the fall off from that album to Pray for the Wicked. You could probably write a thesis on it. I'm going to be honest with you. And I probably would if I was in college, but I'm not.
So I won't.
Yeah, so I will not be doing that. So many great songs on this album. I really wish that I was honestly maybe a little bit older during the rollout of this record, because I would have been able to go see it live and yada yada yada. Like, I didn't even know what a fucking tour was when this album was rolling out, and I wasn't following the band either. So I wish I'd either found the band sooner or was a little bit older so that I could go and experience this. The last great era, because like I'm glad I got to see Panic at the Disco before they dissolved. But it was also off the back of their worst record where they played it in full, and it was solely for the experience of getting to say I saw Panic at the Disco, and not, oh my god, I saw Panic at the Disco. It was just, this band means so much to me, and I want to see it at some point. So yeah, very strong record. I enjoy Death of a Bachelor a lot.
Solid. I followed a lot of like Panic accounts in that era, 2016, 2017. So I saw that tour happen. And I remember I asked my dad if we could go to DC for it. And he was like, for who? I was like, Panic at the Disco. And I showed him a song. And he was like, fuck no. He was like, that's too far. And I was like, that's so fair. But I remember seeing, like, because that was the tour that they were playing. I think they still continue to play it, but it was the tour where they debuted Bohemian Rhapsody, the cover of that. And I remember I thought that was the original song. That's how disconnected I was from music. I was like, oh my god, what is that Panic at the Disco song? That's incredible. It fucking banged though. I can say, not the live version, hell no, but the studio version, that's just crazy. My number one is Vices and Virtues by Panic at the Disco.
Yeah.
I think this is an incredibly solid, compact album. It's 37 minutes long. It gets in, it gets out. It has its moments. It's incredible. I don't think there's a low moment on this record. I think every single song is a 10, including the Ballad of Mona Lisa, which I'm not even the biggest fan of, but I could still say that's a fucking great song. I think it has big moments. I think the nice little slow little twinkly piano moment. So much fun, incredible. I love how the Nearly Witches ties back to the Ballad of Mona Lisa with the children's choir. I love Always. I love the calendar, Trade Mistakes, Memories, Let's Kill Tonight. The entire record to me is a 10 out of 10. There is nothing on here that I would change. Sarah Smiles, even though it is a lower moment for me, it's still a 10 for me because I fucking love that song. favorite album. This is my album. And shout out Vices and Virtues for real.
Hell yeah. My number one is A Fever You Can't Sweat Out by Panic! At the Disco. I think I gave it away in the review. I said that this was like a perfect record for me.
We both said it.
Yeah. There's not a lot of, in my opinion, truly perfect albums. There are albums that I think are fantastic to me and my brain, but I think that this album is truly a perfect and fantastic album and one hell of an debut record. You know, there is not a single song on here that I think is bad in any sort of capacity. There's not even really a song on there that I could name as a least favorite. Truthfully, like, and mean it with my chest. I could do it to piss Glory off, but that's about it. You know, because that's what I live for on here. But yeah, truly a fantastic album. You know, and for me, it deserves no place other than number one. It's always the record that I'll go to if I'm in the mood to listen to Panic! At the Disco. And if for some reason someone's like, I've never heard Panic! At the Disco, that's the record I'm going for, because you know eventually you'll get to the song that everyone knows.
Of course, yeah. I mean, come on. I Write Sins on Tragedies. That shit changed lives. Yeah. Unironically.
Changed my life. Literally changed my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are our thoughts on Panic! At the Disco's 2022 album Viva Las Vengeance, as well as our ranking of their discography, because this wraps up.
Viva Las Vengeance.
Yeah, this wraps up our discography dive. Do you agree with our thoughts on Viva Las Vengeance? Do you disagree? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let us know. Sound off. And let us know your thoughts on our ranking.
Yeah.
Someone's thoughts on someone's ranking somewhere. You can put yours in the comments as well. You know, we can tell you if we think it's wrong.
I'll fight with you personally in the comments. I'm the one who replies out of the comments.
Yeah,
that'll be me. Yeah.
You can follow us on Twitter. It's Good Noise _cast. Instagram's Good Noise Podcast. Facebook is Good Noise Pod. YouTube is Good Noise Podcast. All the audio streaming services are Good Noise Podcast. And Patreon is patreon.com/Good Noise Podcast. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. It helps us out a ton. As I said, this wraps up our Panic! At the Disco discography dive, so you can go watch all of the previous reviews. They're all out there at this point. They're all linked down below as well. And, you know, if you've got any suggestions, we've been saying this the past couple of reviews, but if you got any suggestions of where to go next, definitely let us know. We are open to listening to whatever people think we should check out next discography-wise. But other than that, I've been Shane.
I've been Glory.
And we've been the Good Noise Podcast. So see you next week. Bye.
Bye.